What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Justin from Justin Paul Sports coming at you on a special Sunday morning edition. We've had to change the schedule a couple times this week due to power outages with my co-host and just some other things around the holidays. We are in the holiday season. But before I bring on Bobby from Bobby's Big Board, I got a little special promo that I got going on today. That's right. You just go to winnable.com/Justin Paul Sports and you will get set up with all my college hoops plays as well as our NFL plays. But without further ado, I got 10 live viewers. I'm going to bring on my co-host from the great state of Mississippi. We are feeling festive. It is the holiday season. Everybody, please welcome Bobby from Bobby's Big Board. What's going on, Bobby?
What is going on, guys? Another episode of Cover 2 Cash. We're in week 15 of the NFL season, so getting into your first round of your fantasy football playoffs, we'll be talking about that, a little bit of strategy there, things like that. And obviously, this is probably the last couple of weeks to kind of decide who's going to be making the actual NFL playoff. So a lot of these games have some huge stipulations. So really excited to go over it.
Well, without further ado, I know that our audience is anxiously awaiting our preview. So why don't we just go ahead and get started with our first matchup?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. So the first matchup we're going over is the Cleveland Browns. They're going to Soldier Field to play the Chicago Bears in a really terrible weather game. I think the wind chill is supposed to be like negative 15 for this game. Insane. Both of these teams aren't unfamiliar to cold weather, but despite that, the Chicago Bears have been on a decent run. They did lose last week to the Packers, but they have been exceeding expectations this year for sure. With that expectation being so high, the Chicago Bears are 7.5-point favorites. And I do think this is going to be a closer game than what I do think the Bears win it, but I do think the Browns will keep it close because of how good that defense is. And Shedeur Sanders is coming off a pretty solid game last week. So I like Cleveland Brown plus 7.5 here, even though I do think the Bears win probably by 3 to 5 points.
I think the Bears might be on upset alert here, and this isn't pick on Chicago. I know I did that last week when I live streamed the Bears-Packers game because I am a Packer fan wearing the hat, obviously. But both these teams are cold weather football teams. One of them's about to not be because, that's what they decided to do. But nonetheless, the Bears have been absolutely super hyper efficient with running the football, but I think the Browns defense is going to kind of check that and make Caleb Williams make plays. And there's pros and cons to that. I like the Browns defense getting the touchdown and that hook. I think there is a possibility the Browns can run the football on Chicago. I mean, the Bears don't exactly have an elite run defense, and I don't think Stefanski trusts Shedeur Sanders to put himself in these make these play calls to where the Bears, they're a very opportunistic defense. And it created a bunch of turnovers because of that. We saw it last week. They picked off Love, and we're stepping down in quarterback grade. I think the Bears do win, like you said. I think this could be a sprinkle on the money line here. I'll take the Browns and the points.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll go ahead and
go.
It
will be freezing.
Yeah.
Freezing cold, y'all. I'm from the Chicago area. I've been to a few Bears games when it's been absolutely abysmally cold, and you're right on Lake Michigan. You will feel that wind whipping through your soul, man.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it.
So let's go ahead and talk about Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams had a horrible first half against the Packers, and he does this sometimes. He is a second half quarterback absolutely through and through. It just seems like those first two quarters playing on script is something he's going to have to get better at. Playing on time, things like that. But when it comes to just playing backyard football, just running around making plays, Caleb Williams might be the best quarterback in the NFL at doing that. And he's like the opposite of actually playing on time, which the offense really needs him to step up doing. But in the second half, he threw 2 touchdown passes, pretty good touchdown passes, I might add, and still had like a 20-point game or something like that in a bad first half. So I like Caleb Williams right now. He's still playing like a top 10 quarterback for fantasy purposes, so you have to start him, even though the defense is going to probably give him some issues. Next up, Luther Burden. He's been getting more and more snap percentages. DJ Moore is still the wide receiver 1 for this team in terms of overall snap counts, but he has done nothing with it this year. I mean, he's just not getting targets, and when he does, it's just kind of So I like Luther Burden because of the skill set. He's the starting slot option for this team. So love what Luther Burden's done this year, and I think he's going to be a very good piece for the fantasy football playoff, especially in your flex spot.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Rome Odunze. I know he's had some really down weeks. He was dealing with an injury. They let him off last week. Couldn't go. This week he's going. I think he could have a solid game this week. I'm not giving up on Rome Odunze just yet. He's a solid wide receiver 3 right now for fantasy purposes. Then for the Browns, there's only 2 people on the Browns that I really think are solid options here. Quinshon Judkins, because he gets the volume every single week. Whether he does anything with the volume, it does not matter. In the fantasy football playoffs, you're starting guys that are getting volume, whether that's with targets or touches. It does not matter. Quinshon Judkins is getting the touches. You have to start him. Last but not least, another guy that's getting touches is Harold Fannin Jr. He had over 100 yards and a touchdown last week with Shadur Sanders when he had that breakout game. I like Harold Fannin Jr. a lot. He was my tight end 2 in the draft. He's going to be a great cheat code. He's going to be a great cheat code piece for you at your tight end spot because he's played more like a wide receiver.
Before you go to the sits,
go ahead.
I know what everybody can see on here. We got 22 viewers. Thank you so much for joining us. One person that I think I would add to the start list, and I rarely interject on Bobby's starts list because this is more what he does. But since the weather is going to be so dismal and the Bears are going to run the football, I think DeAndre Swift could be a start today. Even with the Browns' fierce defense up front, there might be some opportunities. You just wear them out and break through on these cold winter days because it does affect everybody. You may get, you'll feel the impact of blocking and pass pro and hits more today. There's zero doubt in my mind.
Yeah. So you notice that DeAndre Swift or Kyle Monangai is on neither side of my graphic, and there's a big reason for that. So I think the biggest part of the fantasy football playoff is you have to start guys that are going to get touches, and a lot of touches. With how the Bears have been running the football the past 3 weeks, it has been a 50-50 split right down the middle with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. And actually, Kyle Monangai over the past 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, has gotten more touches than DeAndre Swift. So that's really alarming to me because I want my fantasy football playoff starters to get as many opportunities to touch the ball as possible. Obviously, we saw the 100-yard games from both of them a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if that's a consistent thing, and I just wish one of these guys could get more opportunities of over the other, but within a Ben Johnson offense, that's just not going to happen, right? They're going to have the split. So that's why I don't really like – the same thing with Seattle's offense. I don't like the running backs there because they are split carries. So for the sits, Shadur Sanders, this is a really tough defense to play against the Chicago Bears. Quarterbacks make mistakes against this team all the time. They've been doing it all year. And the Chicago Bears defense is a little bit more healthy than it has been in weeks past. So I think Shadur Sanders is going to struggle a little bit. If he goes out there and does what he did last week, this week, I think he's a valuable starter for you at the quarterback spot for the rest of the fantasy football playoff if you're in a bind. So Shadur Sanders, definitely don't want to start him this week just because that he hasn't had more than, I think, 12 points outside of last week. So Jerry Jeudy, Shadur Sanders had a big game, and Jerry Jeudy still only had like 70 yards and a touchdown or something like that. He's been very underwhelming coming off his 1,400-yard campaign last year. So, cannot start Jerry Jeudy in good faith right now. Same with DJ Moore. I kind of spoke about him in a minute ago. DJ Moore's just not been a guy that's been doing a lot with his touches. So. And then the tight ends for Chicago. I thought the tight ends, there was a time mid-season where Colson Loveland was getting work a little bit, and then he's just kind of died down to where it's been the Luther Burden show, and, Cole Kmet caught a touchdown last week, but neither one of these tight ends for me are going to be doing much for me.
Good stuff, man. That's good stuff. We got 23 viewers. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. Bobby is plowing good. On our next matchup.
And this next matchup for sure is one that I'm going to have my eye on for sure. And I think this is, like, in my opinion, the biggest money line bet that I would lay this weekend. It's the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
They're at home. They're playing the Ravens, who, I said it at the beginning of the year, I thought the Ravens had the best roster top to bottom.
Yeah.
They have not played like it at all. I mean,
Nope.
They have just lost a lot of the games that they weren't supposed to lose, and Lamar Jackson is just playing bad. He's playing bad football. He's been playing bad football since he came back from the injury, and I just can't ignore that. The Bengals are on an upward trajectory. They've been winning shootouts despite how bad their defense is. I think the Ravens have no answer for Joe Burrow. I know T. Higgins is out, but regardless of that, they still have a ton of weapons. Mike Gesicki will be getting some stuff probably this week. I'm not starting him, but I think he'll step in for the T. Higgins role like he did last year. And Jamar Chase is going to have, I think, a historic game, even though the weather's not that great here. So I like the Bengals plus 2.5 here. I think this is a pretty easy win for the Bengals.
I wouldn't say it's an easy win because the Bengals absolutely, collapsed last week. They should have beat Buffalo because they were beating them down. And Baltimore's defense has tightened up a little bit here, but I'm going to take a desperate Bengals team here. So give me the 2.5 at home. This might be a little money line sprinkle. Like you said, Lamar Jackson has been playing horrific, way below his standard. I mean, this guy is a former league MVP, make no mistake. Lamar Jackson is a very, very elite quarterback. Yep. And sometimes I think with players, when they get injuries, they rush themselves back. Like rushing yourself back from an ACL after 9 months, to me, it's going to absolutely hinder your performance on the football field. I think there might be pressure from teams and fans and even themselves to just show that they don't want to lose their position due to injury or that they want to get out there and help the football team. To me, you got to, in certain positions, like especially your skills and your quarterbacks, you've got to be fully healed, I think, if you're going to make a difference on the football field. And we're seeing it with Burrow. Burrow's looked pretty good. Like his second interception last week was just a fluke swap, lineman caught it and stuff like that. And, he's going to have to carry the team here. But I think that I like Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase over Lamar Jackson with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman this week. The Steelers are big Bengals fans this week. Crazy division, the AFC North. I really thought that the Ravens were going to make a run to the AFC Championship this year. They're going to probably be running to the top 15 of picks if they don't get their act together. Give me Cincy.
Yeah, me too. I feel like that's a pretty obvious one, honestly, just because of how the trajectory's been. So obviously T. Higgins is out. We'll get to that in a moment. I thought he'd be a good start, but they ruled him out, I think, Friday after I made this graphic, of course. But I do think Lamar Jackson versus this horrifically bad Bengals defense is a start. I don't think he can play bad versus this defense. I really don't. But I don't think he has what it takes. I think the defense really lets him down this game. But I do like Lamar Jackson. I like Derrick Henry in this weather to give him the ball a ton of times. They've been giving him 20, 25 touches every single week. And I will say it again, guys, since we have 30 viewers. For your fantasy football playoff, start guys that are getting volume. You are not wanting these big boomer bust type of receivers and running backs. You do not want that. You want guys that are getting more touches than anyone else. That's how you win your fantasy football playoff. Right. So, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, both of those guys are auto starts for me. Joe Burrow doesn't give you the most rushing upside at all, especially with the foot injury that he had. He's still, I think, recovering from that a little bit, but they have to have him to get to the playoffs if they want this. I do think Joe Burrow is a start just because he's been cooking since he's came back. T. Higgins, I wouldn't start him, obviously, because he's out. If he was playing, obviously, that's a good start. If I had to put anybody in their shoes here, I'd say Chase Brown. I don't think Chase Brown is talented as a running back. I stand by that. I will stand by that till the end of time. But most importantly, he gets touches through the air, and he gets a decent amount of carries every single week. So you can start Chase Brown here, even though I'm not the biggest Chase Brown fan. And then Jamar Chase. With T. Higgins out, guys, T. Higgins was out last year, and the only person that really stepped up in T. Higgins' shoes was Mike Gesicki. And we'll get to Andre Yoshivas in a minute, but with T. Higgins out, I just think it's going to be Jamar Chase getting 20 targets like he had with Flacco. I mean, it's going to be a big game for Jamar Chase, and I think he's going to be gobbling up this. Another guy that you could keep your eye on, obviously don't start him, but Tinsley for the Bengals whenever T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, when Jamar Chase was out, due to the suspension. Tinsley came in and he was that next guy up. Super good preseason performer. Really good hands as well. More possession type of wide receiver like T. Higgins is. So Tinsley might be filling in that spot for T. Higgins. And then for the sits, DeAndre Hopkins doesn't get the volume. Stay away. Isaiah Likely. Yes, he's getting more snap percentages, but Mark Andrews is still the guy. They paid him a lot of money. So I don't know. That was an interesting decision for me from the Ravens, honestly, because Isaiah Likely seems to be a guy that could be your franchise tight end and be at least solid. Mark Andrews that might be older, injury prone, right?
And I think that might be like a safety valve for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson might have input on, look, he trusts this guy more than Likely, even though Likely's been producing.
Yeah.
That can be why he got the extension. Plus, he's been there for so long,
He has.
That's my guess. Like, I think a quarterback, when you've been there and you've won the MVP and you have a little bit of say over the route, not a lot, but like if they asked him, like, hey, we need
I'm
to.
Sure, he had input on it for sure. It was just interesting.
Tight end isn't just about receiving; it's about blocking, passing, run blocking, and all that stuff. So you just don't know. You just don't know what the Ravens are thinking. So hopefully it works out for him.
Yeah, I mean, it has been working out for him this year. I mean, I think Lamar has thrown more touchdowns to Andrews than anyone else over the past 2-3 years. So that probably has a little bit to do with it. And then Rashad Bateman had a little bit higher hopes for him this year, since he did have like a pseudo breakout year last year. He just hasn't really been producing because, well, the offense hasn't been producing like it was last year. Last year, I want to say the Ravens offense had more yards per play than any team ever in the history of the NFL. But, this year it hasn't been that. So Rashad Bateman has definitely paid the price for that. I still think Bateman's talented, but any wide receiver in this offense not named Zay Flowers, you need to stay away from. Then for the Bengals,
the Ravens gave him 3 years, $36 million. That's why he had 9 touchdowns last year. I thought he would have himself a good season this year. It's a little shocking, but the Ravens offense in general has just been all down all around. It's not just been him.
Yeah. And then next up, Andre Yoshivas. He's had enough opportunities now to come in and make an impact, and he just hasn't. He's kind of like their pseudo slot guy, on the boundary where he'll run these out routes, 10-yard out routes and catch on the sidelines. Yoshivas, he's a solid red zone threat as well, but Jamar Chase is going to be there. Gesicki is going to be there. I just don't think he's had plenty of opportunities to get it done, and he hasn't produced for us in fantasy outside of a touchdown week here or there. And then last but not least, Mike Gesicki. If you're starting him at your tight end slot, I wouldn't hate it, but I think there's probably 15 better tight ends right now this week that I would start over him. And if you're in a 10 to 12 man league and it's not super deep, there's probably those tight ends on waivers that you can get that are better than Gesicki. All right, we'll keep on rocking through. 35 viewers. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to hop in, do a comment, talk about start sits for your own roster. We also answer any of those questions, any betting questions, whether it's college, for next week, whatever. Hop in the chat, man. We will definitely answer all your questions. But
I got to clarify. Hold on. I got to clarify a disclaimer. I got a YouTube strike. We don't guarantee any picks. We don't guarantee it. We don't charge for them. We just put them out there. Just got to put that out there for YouTube's mindful, like they've given me a strike, even though I've never said anything along those lines. Just got to let everybody know. There is a potential. It's all for entertainment purposes. But let's move on. Speaking of entertaining, what's going on with your Kansas City Chiefs, Bobby? I know it's not very entertaining for you. It's probably been entertaining for the rest of America to see this team struggle. When we talked about it when we do in our NFL previews, I felt the Chiefs last year were winning those close games, and sometimes that those chickens come home to roost or whatever the expression
like the Vikings from 2023. I mean, they won all those close games, right? Yep. Then they lose Kirk Cousins and they just kind of collapsed last year. But I think the Chiefs are kind of having this little thing going on where they had a really horrific schedule first and foremost. I mean, their schedule was really tough. Yeah. But it's the Chiefs, right? People expected them to prevail like they have for the past 6 years and just really go in there. But they have been losing these close games. They don't have a run game. The offensive line hasn't been the greatest since we've had multiple injuries. We're still trying to figure out our left tackle spot. I know we drafted Josh Simmons in the first round, which I thought was an excellent pick, but he's been dealing with some injuries, some personal issues as well, kept him off the field. So it all comes down to us having no run game. I like Kareem Hunt, but he's not. He's just a goal line guy, a short yardage guy. We don't have much explosiveness in our running back room, and we're going to have to change that, I think, in the draft. I wouldn't like for them to draft Jeremiah Love because I don't think it's a good fit. But one of these other explosive running backs that you could get in round 2, round 3, I think would be a really good addition for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. And honestly, the drops have been another issue for the Chiefs, right? They've had multiple drops. Mahomes has been missing receivers here and there, especially with the deep ball. So it's just they haven't really been clicking. I think the offense really has to diversify itself and kind of really let all the cats out of the bag if they want to make it to the playoffs here.
This feels like a spot where Kansas City last week played so poorly that usually a team that's well coached with solid quarterback play, they're going to bounce back this next week here. I think this could be a game where Kansas City blows them out, right? I think Kansas City has been limping along, and they're in a really tough spot, and their season is on life support. But I'm going to take Kansas City at home to cover the 4.5. It's a lot of points for me. I'm going kind of against my instincts a little bit on this because the Chargers looked really good last week. And when you have that combination going to the next week, even in the divisional game, I'm going to take Arrowhead minus 4.5 due to history, due to the Chiefs having a much better defense than what the Chargers faced last week. I'm going to lay the 4.5 here. I think Kansas City is worth it. I do think the Chiefs win and keep their season on life support, and America gets frustrated again for another week. So we'll see what's going on with Kansas City.
And the Chargers have been a team that's kind of struggled, right? I mean, they lost both their tackles for the season. The running game with Amari and Hampton, he should be, fully healthy now. They've had a lot of issues this year.
Yeah.
Herbert has played through injury, but, obviously not 100% healthy. He had the hand surgery and things like that. But nonetheless, we'll get into the start sits. I do think Patrick Mahomes, this was his worst game last week, 3 picks, 4 picks, whatever it was. Some of those were just deflected off of Kelsey's hands. I mean, it's been a lot of just unluckiness for this Chiefs offense. And I do think Mahomes, he's still playing like a top 5 fantasy quarterback. You cannot not start him for your fantasy football playoffs. I know last week's a little scary, but he's a good start. If you don't start him, I don't think it's a good decision.
Right.
Rashee Rice had his worst game since he came back from suspension last week. I think he's going to bounce back in a big way. He's still the number 1 target for this team. Patrick Mahomes is going to trust him despite the drops from him last week. Same thing with Travis Kelce. I think he's the guy that's going to be underneath getting these big first downs, maybe gets a touchdown on the red zone here or there. But yeah, I like those 3 guys for sure as starts from the Kansas City Chiefs side. Then for the Chargers, I like Amari and Hampton. I think he's going to get a lot of touches this week. They were kind of ramping him up last week. They didn't give him all the touches. It was kind of like a split between Vidal and Hampton. We'll talk about Vidal in a minute, but Hampton, I think, gets the bulk load of the carries now since he had 1 week to just kind of ramp up to his actual workload. So I think Hampton's a good start here. And then Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey at the start of the year was very underwhelming, and then since probably week 3, week 4, he has just been really consistent. A 12, 13-point guy. And guys, you want consistency for your fantasy football playoff starters. You want guys that will at least get you 12, 13 points every single week. Like a Zay Flowers type is like a borderline guy that I'm talking about. Ladd McConkey's way more consistent than Zay Flowers, of course, because they throw the ball more. But you want guys that aren't going to give you – they don't have a possibility of giving you a dud, like Quentin Johnston, which we will segue into. Quentin Johnston is a boomer bust wide receiver at this point.
Yes.
He is continuously saw a reduction in his snap counts, and he's only relevant, in my opinion, as of right now, if he gets a touchdown. And you do not want to start guys where you're starting them only when they're big weeks that they've had this year from touchdown games. You don't want that. So Quentin Johnston's a sit for me. Vidal, he had a decent game last week. And he's had a really good season. He's had multiple 100-yard games with a touchdown this year. But with Hampton coming back, I think he's fully healthy. I think Vidal takes a back seat. And then Keenan Allen, he is the definition this year of guys that he's only relevant if he scores a touchdown. He gets, your 5-6 catches, and then he'll make the touchdown. Without those weeks where he scored a touchdown, I think he's averaging like 7-6 points a game. That's just not what you want. So stay away from Keenan Allen. He's really fell off a little bit in terms of the snap percentages as well. Then don't start the Kansas City Chiefs running backs. I think Kareem Hunt's okay if you have no one else, but stay away from these guys because Pacheco, I think, is fully healthy now. He's going to take at least half the carries. Kareem Hunt's only the short yardage guy, and if they get on the goal line, he probably gets the touchdown. But, again, you don't want to start guys only because they may score a touchdown. So we'll go ahead and get rocking and rolling. Chiefs really need that win in a bad way. But here's our thumbnail here, our game of the week, in my opinion. The Buffalo Bills going to Gillette Stadium, playing the New England Patriots. Both of these teams are on a heater right now, tied for, top 1, top 2 teams in the AFC right now. The Bills, despite going on the road, are -1.5 point favorites, which is interesting to me because the Patriots have really been winning all these games. Not decisively, but they've been getting the job done. Josh Allen had a vintage performance last week. It's a tough game. I think it's a pick 'em in my opinion. I think the Bills, at least this year, have the worst resume compared to the Patriots. I think with Josh Allen's new daddy strength, he's having a child, so congratulations to Josh Allen. I think with that, I think the Bills might come out here and stun the Patriots in Week 15. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills -1.5 here, but this is a really close game. I understand why the line is what it is.
So I'm in a fantasy league with a couple Bills fans, and it's just so funny because they've been tortured by Tom Brady for all these years, and then they had a small little window where they had the better quarterback, and then this year you're seeing Drake may absolutely start pummeling people. I'm going to take Buffalo here. I think that they're going to have to – I think New England's still 1 year away, even with everything they've done. They've made some questionable personnel decisions with Ramondre Stevenson continuing to get carries in spite of his inefficiency. But the Patriots, mind you, did have a softer NFL schedule. I'm not discrediting what they've done during the season, but they're like the Bears kind of this year. The only difference is Ben Johnson's not a proven NFL head coach, and Mike Vrabel absolutely is.
Yep.
Right. But I'm gonna take Sean McDermott. I'm gonna take the Bills here. I think James Cook is gonna have himself a day today, going up there in Boston. I think the Bills win the game outright. I think laying 1.5 is fine. I think it's a field goal game, but I don't think that the Patriots are gonna win this game at home. And I don't like home dogs when both teams are supposed to be elite. Right. So they're still trusting the quarterback play of Josh Allen on this line for sure. So I like the Bills. And we're going to see a really tight race between these two the rest of the way. And mind you, I know we're going to get to them a little bit later, but the Miami Dolphins are still in the playoff hunt in this division. That's what's crazy. Ever since they fired Chris Greer, we'll get to the Dolphins later, but I do think that Buffalo gets the job done. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball pretty effectively here tonight. And then, I know you got Travion Henderson and you starts. We're going to see. I'm still not fully sold on him, but, it's just kind of a wait and see.
Yeah. So, absolutely, Josh Allen. I've said a few weeks this season that.
Oops, sorry. Sorry about that.
I've said a few weeks this season that Lamar Jackson's the best fantasy football quarterback of all time. I think it's Josh Allen.
Okay.
Josh Allen has been so consistent, no injuries. I mean, if he does have injuries, he plays through them. And he's just a guy that will get you 15, 16 rushing touchdowns every single year without fail and is still a good passing quarterback. So, like Josh Allen, he's the best quarterback for fantasy right now and will be probably for the considerable future. I mean, he's been the QB 1 or 2 for the past 6 years. So, you can't argue with that. James Cook, like you said, I think he's going to have a big game. These snow games, these really cold games, James Cook just seems to be LaShawn McCoy in these types of games. So I like Cook. He's had a phenomenal year, has already over 1,000 yards this year. I think, they ran the ball a lot this year. James Cook wasn't a big volume guy up until last year. Well, not even last year. He wasn't a big volume guy at all. This year, he's been absolutely a volume guy, and I think he's one of the safest guys in the NFL right now to start at your running back spot. And then Khalil Shakir. I know I've had him on the sit list a lot. just because he's just a guy that gets you 10, 12 points. I like throughout the season to have guys that have a little bit more upside. But with Khalil Shakir, I think he's a safe option that you can start for your fantasy football playoffs. Drake May, I don't like this Bills defense that much. So I do think Drake May can have a pretty solid performance here. I think he's the QB 3 or 4 right now. He has the rushing upside as well if he needs to use it. So I like Drake May as well. And then Travion Henderson. I think this is a really big game for both teams, and I think they are going to start their best guy. And Travion Henderson gives them the best chance to get a decent running game going. Ramondre Stevenson we'll talk about in just a moment, but Travion Henderson, I think, has shown in games past that he is a consistent option once you give him the ball consistently. And I think the Patriots are finally going to do that this week. And then for the sit list, Stephon Diggs. Really solid first half of the season, and since about week 13 or so, his numbers have fell off a cliff. I think he's getting like 30, 40% snap share, which is really ridiculous for a guy that's supposed to be your wide receiver 1. That's really alarming. So, staying away from Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Pop Douglas, another guy, he's not getting the snap percentages. He's like their gadget guy. Stay away from him. And then Ramondre Stevenson, even though he may get 10, 12 carries, he's getting you like 25 yards and maybe a touchdown. He is not consistent. He hasn't been efficient with his carries whatsoever. Stay away from him. Keon Coleman, really let down year for him. He's leaning towards being a bust at this point. He's just not getting open. And when he does get his opportunities, he just doesn't really bring down these big contested catches. So staying away from Keon Coleman, unfortunately, even though I do like him. Maybe one more year. Maybe he'll need one more year to become relevant. I don't know. We'll see. And then last but not least, Dalton Kincaid. I know this is a weird one, but he's been dealing with a ton of injuries. I think this is a guy that they're going to preserve for the actual NFL playoff because he's dealt with multiple injuries this year. He did go out there and have like 40 yards and a touchdown last week, but Dawson Knox had more snaps than him, and I think that's going to continue to be the case up until they get to the playoffs because they need Kincaid fully healthy for the playoffs.
Good analysis.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the next game, which is a little weird. Commanders got trashed last week versus the Vikings. Got shut out. Really, really tough thing here. But they're going to MetLife Stadium playing the New York Giants. The Giants are minus 2.5-point favorites. Before we get into the line, did you see the clip of the interim head coach talking to the team in a team meeting saying they have 4 weeks left, we're going to run the table 4-0? I don't know, man. That guy couldn't motivate me to get out of bed in the morning, man. He that was not a good speech whatsoever. And everybody was just looking at him like, what are you doing, man? Despite that, I do think the Giants are good enough to win this game. I like the roster that they've built, even though they haven't really put wins on paper. I do like the roster. So I like the Giants here minus 2.5. I think the Commanders are in full collapse, and Dan Quinn might be on the hot seat if they don't pull together a couple wins this year.
Whoa, that's some spicy take right there.
Yeah, I mean, this team has completely fell apart, and even when Jaden Daniels has been on the field, they just haven't been able to consistently bring in the wins.
Let's back this. Let's slow down with that take, because you come into Washington and you take this team to the NFC Championship, and then the next year you're telling me that they're so lousy that his seats get hot. First of all, his seat is not hot. It's not. You don't take a team that's – hold on. You don't take a team that's that lousy, for as lousy as the Commanders have been all this time, and take them into Detroit last year and beat that team and go to the NFC Championship and lose to a team that obviously had a way better roster. I think that there's a lot of I think it's just a wait and see there. As far as the matchup today, Marcus Mariota can play football at this level. He's done it before. I think he's more of a steady hand. I know that this game will be fun to watch Jackson Dart. Everybody kind of likes what New York's doing, but they're still without, pretty solid playmakers. They do have Wan'Dale Robinson, but he's also, 5'7" or whatever. He's a really short receiver. Can still get the job done. I'm going to take the Commies here. I like them to win outright. I would lay the money line here, especially if you're telling – I did not see the Mike Kafka comment, but the moment that I think he lost the team was when he went for it a few weeks ago on fourth down. and they could have kicked the field goal and went up 6, and instead they ended up losing the game. I think it was the Lions game. I think that's kind of when he lost them. Like he could have beat the Detroit Lions, really done something for his case to be a head coach. But I think that the Commanders, in spite of their running back issues here, I think that we're going to see them, do something here in a game where, like you said, it's really both these teams are eliminated from postseason. They're just finishing out the schedule. Yeah. And give me the commies here. We got 40 viewers, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, well, we'll go ahead and get right into the start sits, man. So, Jackson Dart, if he finishes the game, let's hope. He's a guy that loves to just take concussions to the head over and over and over. Hopefully, he can get that under control because Jackson Dart is a good quarterback for fantasy purposes. And I think versus this Commanders defense, I think he can really do some good work this week or today. Sorry. We normally do the show on Friday. We've pushed it back to Sunday. I actually like this schedule a lot more. Seems like people are a little bit more engaged right before kickoff. Excited, right? So, like Jackson Dart as a start. Wan'Dale Robinson, really good after the catch guy. Solid hands as well. And they've just been force-feeding him the ball. I think Wan'Dale Robinson can have a solid game. He's been a very consistent option for us in fantasy, at least since Malik Neighbors went down, unfortunately. And the last but not least, a guy that people aren't really talking about is Theo Johnson. I think if you're in a league where you don't really have a lot of guys to start, I think Theo Johnson's a guy that you can absolutely start in your flex spot or your tight end spot if you're weak at tight end. Theo Johnson has just been really consistent over the past 5-6 weeks. Dart really loves him. He's had multiple touchdown games as well. So I like Theo Johnson here. Terry McLaurin starts, he's been hurt a decent amount of the first half of the season, comes back, looks a little underwhelming. Then he's really started to come into his own. Marcus Mariota, Terry McLaurin have a little bit of a connection. So I think Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel are both going to do some decent work. I think they're the only people that I would start on this Commanders team and feel decent about it. Then for the sits, Marcus Mariota, I know that he's had some games where he's had some success fantasy-wise. He's had some games where he hasn't had a lot of success. Some fumble problems, some turnover problems in general has happened for Marcus Mariota. I don't think versus this Giants defense he's going to be able to give you a really high-end game. And for Marcus Mariota, I think most people that have Marcus Mariota in your fantasy football playoffs are going to have better options than Marcus Mariota. So I'm staying away from Marcus Mariota for now. Then for the running backs, we thought JCM might be the guy the first 4 weeks of the season. He really kind of fell off the beaten path a little bit. And Chris Rodriguez has kind of taken that step as the workhorse guy, the early down back. But neither one of these guys are getting enough carries, unfortunately. So I'm staying away from both of those guys for now. And same thing for the Giants running back room. Tyron Tracy, Devin Singletary, both of those guys I'm staying away from. And Darius Slayton's just not getting the volume. Now,
Evan, thanks for joining us, Evan.
Let's go ahead and check out your questions. Start 2, Swift, Dowdle, Monungai, Krosky, Merritt. Start 1, likely Juwan Johnson, Waller. All right, I'm going to go with Juwan Johnson for the start 1. He's been the most consistent out of those 3. And I hate the option of starting both Swift and Monungai, but those are the 2 best guys on those lists. I wouldn't start both of the Bears running backs. That seems a little iffy to me. I would say Swift and Dowdle. I like Monungai. It's basically a coin flip between Swift and Monungai. I think Swift offers a higher upside, and Monungai is the safer option. But I think Swift and Dowdle is the play there.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that Swift is going to be the starter. So,
they announced a couple of outs. Rashad Bateman out, Chris Rodriguez out. So JCM could be a spot starter for you if you needed it. I just don't think he's efficient enough versus this defense. And then last but not least, Quentin Johnston, surprise out as well. So those 3 guys just got ruled out just a second ago, which is interesting. I thought Quentin Johnston would for sure play. Roma Odunze's healthy, of course. And all right, well, we'll go ahead and get on to the next game here. Wow, okay. So the Las Vegas Raiders, laughing stock of a season. Terrible quarterback play, terrible roster pretty much all the way around. Nobody on defense, really. They've got a couple of playmakers on offense with Genty, Brock Bowers. But, yeah, they just haven't really done a lot, unfortunately. And they're going on the road to play Philly in Philly. Philadelphia minus 11.5 point favorites. You know, I hate going against people that are 10 plus point dogs.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think the Raiders are so bad. I'm going to go with the Raiders plus 11.5. I think they lose this game by 10 points. But yeah, I'm staying away. I'm staying away from the Eagles. I don't like the Eagles' offense, man. I just don't like the Eagles' offense. They've just been abysmal. And I think the Raiders can at least make this game a 10-point game. So
but Geno Smith, I think, is out. I
like Kenny Pickett better. I'm cool.
Well,
I'm cool with that.
It's a Kenny Pickett revenge game. Remember, Philadelphia let him go to Cleveland, and now he's he's trajected worse. Pittsburgh, Philly, Cleveland, and now he's here in Vegas. It's like Dante's Inferno when you're going through the depths of hell and you're just progressively getting worse. But this is an interesting spot. It's 11.5 here. The Eagles got pushed to the limit in that Chargers game. Jalen Hurts threw that pick, but there's nobody on the Raiders defense, I think, that really is hyper scary. Saquon Barkley's kind of had a down year, but the big matchup is going to be the Eagles front against the worst offensive line I've seen in the NFL in 20 years.
Yeah, it's bad.
I think that unless they drop a game plan to where Philadelphia, you take advantage of their hyper aggressiveness up front and start doing some draws and screen. I don't know if Pete Carroll's going to get that done, man. This is a really intriguing line, but I think that they're going to go in there and try and slow it down. I think the Raiders are going to just try to run the football.
Yep.
And like you said, Philadelphia's inefficiency on offense, shows, but Jalen Hurts played better in the second half of that Chargers game last week and just really made a bad read. I mean, it looked like they were going to win the football game. And Philly's, their fans are just absolutely restless right now, and I don't think it's fair to them. I mean, they just came off a Super Bowl win. They're already calling for they're throwing eggs at the offensive coordinator.
Offensive coordinator's been bad. I don't think you should egg his house, obviously, but he's been really bad.
But I'm gonna take the Raiders to cover here in some miracle format. I don't know what's going on. But give me the Raiders plus 11 in the hook.
It's just really hard in the NFL where, they say any given Sunday for a reason. And when you have lines that are this bloated, I think I like personally just going with the big dog pretty much every single time as long as it's 10 plus points because all of these games end up being close sometimes. So let's go ahead and talk about the start sits for this game. Your basic people for the Eagles, right? Jalen Hurts, he gets your rushing touchdown upside. He's been playing outside of last week really safe with the football outside of a fumble here and there. He's kept the interception count really low this year compared to what he's done in years past, outside of last week, of course.
Oh, I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. We're having a little technical difficulty. I think Bobby's in here. I'm going to remove him from the stage for a moment, see if he comes back. Yeah, he's popped out. But for what he's got on the start sit-ems here, I'll kind of go through it while he's rebooting or whatever the case may be. I don't know how because he does the projections here. But Jalen Hurts is a good start against this lousy, Raiders team that we've talked about, just kind of how bad they can be. Saquon Barkley, he's still a start as well. I mean, he hasn't been averaging the yards that he's been averaging normally when he plays ball. He seems to have been down. But I think this is an opportunity to get yourself right and, really bust through this Raiders defense. A.J. Brown, the last 3 games, he's had 100-yard receiving games almost every time. He's an absolute start, ladies and gentlemen. Bobby is rebooting, so you're just going to have to look at my face for a while. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cover 2 Cash with Justin from Justin Sports. We are in our special holiday season, coming across, getting ready for NFL playoffs. The NFL season is winding down. We've got our college football playoffs approaching next week. We've got some premier matchups. I know a lot of people are mad about this right here with Alabama getting in, but that's just how it goes when you play in the toughest conference in college football. And we've got some, Miami's playing Texas A&M next week. We got a couple questionable games. I mean, James Madison's going to go to Oregon, and Tulane goes to Ole Miss. So there's some semi-prestigious college, football playoff matchups. I know a lot of people don't like the G5 teams in there, but that's just kind of how it goes. Excuse me, y'all. They got to decide what they're going to do. But just waiting for Bobby to. Oh, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. He has returned. Bobby, he's talking about a little college football playoff. Even though we got 42 viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. I was telling him how I kind of went through a couple of the starts there. The last thing I left off was AJ Brown having 3 straight 100-yard games. Definitely worth starting in your leagues.
Yeah. He's he was one of the bigger busts at the beginning of the year, just because people probably took him in the 3rd round of their drafts. At least Dynasty, that's where he was going in the 3rd, 4th round, and they just hadn't been getting in the ball. And then Hurts just finally got some connection with AJ Brown, and then all of a sudden, boom, 100-yard game, 100-yard game, 100-yard game. And I think that will continue at least until the playoff. But I do want to talk about Saquon Barkley. He's had a really down year, unfortunately. But Saquon, he had a 100-yard game last week, and I think he's going to continue to ramp it up for the fantasy football playoff. I know he's borderline not startable. Yeah. I think Saquon Barkley's startable for your playoff because he gets the attempts. He gets the touches every single week. And who else gets touches? Brock Bowers. He's getting targets every single week. Ashton Genty's going to be getting all of the carries, all of the targets out of the backfield. I know Raheem Mostert's been kind of annoying a little bit, but I like both of those guys because they get the touches. Again, guys, for your fantasy football playoff, you want guys that are getting a lot of touches. You don't want high upside guys that are in limited roles. Then for the sits, Kenny Pickett, obviously, this is a tough first start on the road versus one of the better defenses in football. I think Kenny Pickett will struggle a little bit. I don't know if he'll struggle as bad as Geno Smith might. Geno Smith he's had some really tough quarterback play this year. Obviously, the O-line hadn't helped him out a lot, but going to stay away from Kenny Pickett. Jack Besh, he had his best game last week, 4 catches, 60 yards, something like that. Stay away from him, though. His role is increasing more and more and more throughout the season, but he's a guy that you don't want to start this year. Dante Thornton is a guy that might get you 2 targets, and you hope and pray one of them is a 70-yard bomb. Stay away from guys like that. Dallas Goedert, he was throughout the middle of the season, really just big tight end, touchdown upside. He's cooled off since then. He's getting you probably 8 to 10 points. You can get more than that from other tight ends. And then Jahan Dotson, it's a kind of a meme at this point. There's not a lot of people that I put on the sit list for the Eagles. Jahan Dotson's just the guy that always gets the axe. I don't think anybody's starting Jahan Dotson, but at this point we're doing it for the meme. But yeah, that's the start sits for this game. So,
he was the target on the last play of the game for Jalen Hurts last week. That's who he was targeting in the end zone before he got picked up. But good stuff, Bobby. Good stuff. Next.
Another game where you have a big loaded line. The New York Jets. They've had a really, really underwhelming season, and they're going on the road to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have had a really solid. They've had a really solid Jaguars season. I mean, they've really overperformed with what's his name, the coach for the Jaguars. Why am I blanking on his name?
Duval. Yeah, Liam Cohen.
Liam Cohen from the Bucks. Yeah. He's brought this team around in a big way offensively. Defense has been decent enough. And because of that, Jets are going down south playing Jacksonville. Minus 12.5 point favorites, the Jaguars. You have Brady Cook, who looked horrendously bad. He looked bad at Missouri last year. I don't know how he made a roster, legitimately. And no disrespect for Brady Cook, but he looked really bad last year. And guys like Kyle McCord can't get a start this year, but Brady Cook can. I mean, I don't understand that, guys. But this is a line where I think the Jets, they don't have any star power defensively anymore. They have Breece Hall, and that's about it. Garrett Wilson's not playing this week, I don't think. So Jaguars minus 12.5 rather. I like that line a lot. I'm going to say Jacksonville minus 12.5 here. I think they cleanly win this football game. I think the Jets are clearly tanking.
Well, I don't know why they're not playing Justin Fields. I mean, I think Tyrod Taylor's injured.
He is.
And I think you're paying Justin Fields all this money. I mean, what are you going to see in Brady Cook? I guess that's kind of what you want to do. I mean, I saw Brady Cook last year play Alabama and just got absolutely, smashed. I'm not big on him. I thought it was kind of like you said, it is tanking. I mean, the Jets haven't been a really efficient football team, but they haven't, done the worst things. And their off seasons, they're going to be good. They got 3 first-round picks in this upcoming draft and 3 in the next one. So they're doing a dynasty rebuild, ladies and gentlemen. The Jets are doing a dynasty rebuild. They've traded their elite pieces because they know that they're out, and they're going for draft picks, and they're going to take a risk in the draft, and I commend them for that. I feel bad for Jets fans and their lousy ownership. They've shown it with letting Rodgers walk out the door. I just never hear anything good that comes out of New York Jets camp ever. I think they made a questionable hire with Aaron Glenn personally, but that's neither here nor there. When you win in the NFL, your coordinators get swiped. And that's kind of a testament to Tampa Bay because Dave Canales leaves. He goes to the Panthers, who control their own destiny, folks.
Yeah.
If the Panthers win out, they're going to win the division. And somebody said they might make the playoffs. But you've also got Liam Cohen going on to Jacksonville, taking over a franchise. They had a few more pieces than the Panthers do. And he's making the best of it. Travis Etienne's having a good season. We don't know what's going on with BTJ. And I think that they're definitely, feeling a little bit of that impact with Travis Hunter being out. But 12.5 is a lot of points. Feels like too good to be true. I'm going to take 12.5 points on the road here. Something's going to give. I'm not saying the game will be close. I just think that you can see a spot where, they get that garbage touchdown for the back door. So give me the Jets and the points in this one.
Well, we'll go ahead and get into the start sets. Trevor Lawrence has played pretty solid football. He's getting you your rushing touchdowns. Normally he's a 4 or 5 rushing touchdown guy a year. He stepped it up a little bit this year. He's had multiple games with multiple rushing touchdowns. Seems like they're calling his number a lot on the goal line because they just don't really have that goal line back, really. Travis Etienne's not really a goal line back, but despite that, Travis Etienne is definitely a start. He's exceeded expectations. He was really inefficient last year. And then this year, he started off really hot, cooled down a little bit, but here as over the past 2-3 weeks, has really heated up a little bit. I think he's going to have a really good game versus this Jets defense. Jacoby Myers, surprisingly, I wanted to see how he would fit in this Liam Cohen offense. He has fit nicely. Every single game that he's been here, he's had over 10 points. So I like Jacoby Myers as a start. In your flex. I mean, he's just a really good football player, man. I didn't know how well he would be because I think his ceiling was capped with the Raiders. But man, he looks like the number 1 target right now for Trevor Lawrence when BTJ is healthy, which is interesting. Brenton Strange is a really good tight end option. Trevor Lawrence loves Brenton Strange. Gives him a lot of targets every single week, and he's a big red zone guy as well. So you get the touchdown upside as well. And literally the only player for the Jets that I feel comfortable starting, the only one, Adonai Mitchell, no. Craig Reynolds, I think, no, stay away from him. Brady Cook, absolutely not. Breece Hall, he's the only guy. I think he's going to get the touches. He's going to get the ball out of the backfield. He's borderline not the best matchup just because of how bad Brady Cook's about to be, I think. But Breece Hall, I think he's the only guy that you could actually start. And then for sits, any Jets player that's not named Breece Hall, you can sit pretty comfortably. And BTJ even, I do want to talk about BTJ. I think BTJ is a borderline start for you. But, man, he's a scary guy to start right now. So we'll go ahead and keep it rocking and rolling, man.
Yeah, we're cooking here, folks. We're cooking 42, folks. We've talked about this at the beginning. Cut is peer-to-peer betting. So if you're going to go to them, check them out. Use that code COVER2CASH during sign-up. It's legal in 45 states. Do not do anything illegal. Do not bet where it's not legal. All right, make sure that you can get the platform. They're the best. They've got the best lines, the best vig. You can go out there and compare them to anybody else, and you do absolutely amazing stuff. We absolutely love Cut. We just want to thank them so much for being our sponsor. We've done very well with them. And what's your take on them, Bobby?
Yeah, man. I live in a state where there isn't sports betting outside of a casino, so it's illegal. But Cut is not illegal in my state, so that's basically where I do all my betting. I kind of like more of it because you can trash talk people. There's public chat rooms that you can go in where, I use that a decent amount. You can actually talk to the person that you're betting against, trash talk them. That's one of my favorite parts Because, you can trash talk your bookie if you have one, but like just a random stranger that you can just go up to and just be like, haha, I took your money. That's one of my favorite parts about Cut. Just a little bit of trash talk, a little gamemanship once you take that other person's money. So definitely
use the
like
code,
Cut.
y'all. Use the code and get yourself a nice little deposit bonus.
Absolutely. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and keep on rocking and rolling. Thank you, Cut, so much for sponsoring today's episode. But here's another game where I feel like the line's a little bloated, in my opinion. The Arizona Cardinals, they're going on the road to play the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans are a good football team. Offensively, not the best, but defensively, one of the best defenses in the NFL. And the Cardinals have been a team that just hang on. Even in the bad matchups, they just hang on. They're always there in the fourth quarter. I think this line's really bloated. I don't know if they win the game or not. This could be a game where the Texans rest on their morals a little bit. Yeah. I like the Cardinals, not money line. I'm going to say Cardinals plus 10 here. I like what Jacoby Brissett has done all year, honestly. Really good performances from Jacoby Brissett. I like... obviously they don't have much of a run game. Trey Benson might be active for this game. I'm not entirely sure. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is out. I still like it because it seems like this offense, weirdly enough, runs better without Marvin Harrison Jr. on the field, which is a little crazy to say. So I like the Cardinals plus 10 here.
Yeah, I'm taking the 10 here as well. I mean, the Texans defense is Super Bowl bound. I think you could see a Texans-Broncos AFC championship here. But there are a lot of injuries to the Cardinals, and I think that's what's giving you the 10 points. Defensively, they're missing a lot of players. Marvin Harrison's out. They just have been banged up all season long. But they still got a guy named Trey McBride who can get the football, and I think that he can attack the middle of the Texans' defense. I mean, we see Petre and I can't pronounce that guy's name, Al-Aziz Shahir, or whatever his name is.
Al-Aziz Al-Shahir, yeah.
And you still got great linebackers and a great front four. I mean, it is a Super Bowl caliber defense. They're starting to come into rhythm here, but I think this game will be closer than 10 points. I would take the Cardinals and the 10 points. I think you're going to see McBride go for 100 and a touchdown, though, in this one. I do.
He's been doing that a lot this year.
Yep. I mean, you can, stack the box. I mean, we just don't know who's going to be getting all the runs for – is it going to be Bam Knight again? Michael Wilson might have himself a little game if they're going to try and double-team Trey McBride, and he's shown that if you give him the targets, he can go catch the football. He's definitely a solid, very solid, probably the best number 2 receiver out there that's not named Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua, whoever you put 1 and 2 there, or T. Higgins. But it should be a good matchup. I'm kind of intrigued to see what they do here.
Honestly, there's maybe 10 quarterbacks that I'd start over Jacoby Brissett at this point. Maybe 10, maybe less. Jacoby Brissett, he started 7, 8 games now. He has not had a single game under 21 fantasy points. He's still doing that every single week. He's been getting, because they don't have a run game, so he's forced to pass pretty much every single play. And yet, still, he's been very efficient. He's been feeding the ball to Michael Wilson, who we'll talk about in just a second. But Jacoby Brissett is a almost borderline must-start quarterback right now, even versus this defense. I think he's been playing lights-out football all year. This offense has not really been the problem. I think it's been the defense for the Cardinals. But Michael Wilson, guys, if you take all the games where it's just been Michael Wilson and no Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson in that 5-game sample size is on pace to be like 2,400 receiving yards, something like that. That's insane. Jacoby Brissett and Michael Wilson have just been cooking. He's bound to have another 100-yard game, even with how good the defense is. So I like Michael Wilson as a pretty safe start as your wide receiver too. And then last but not least, for the Cardinals, Trey McBride. Trey McBride has just had a phenomenal year, up there towards the top of the NFL in catches and targets. Almost over 1,000 yards. I think he only needs 60 yards today to break 1,000 yards for the tight end position. That's a very good season from him. He's had, I think, 7 touchdowns. He's got more touchdowns this year. He's had double the amount of touchdowns this year than he's had throughout his entire career prior to the season. So him and Jacoby Brissett obviously have a very good connection. Then for the Texans, I like Woody Marks because Nick Chubb is not playing, I don't believe, in this game. So you got Woody Marks, who's going to be getting the entirety of the carries. And I've liked what he's shown on tape this year. I like what he brings out of the backfield as well. So I think he's going to be getting all the touch. So I think he's a pretty comfortable flex start for you guys. And Nico Collins as well. Very safe guy. He's a wide receiver, I think 7 or 8 right now. He's been pretty consistent as well, even with CJ Stroud kind of struggling a little bit offensively. Then for the sit, CJ Stroud, I know this defense for the Cardinals is not the best, but I don't think CJ Stroud, I mean, outside of that one game where he had, I think, close to 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, he just hasn't done anything.
Well, the Cardinals are banged up. The Cardinals are banged up defensively, so I'm just kind of pushing back here. I think there might be a chance where you play him. You know, the Cardinals are definitely lacking in the secondary. I mean, 2 of their starters are out. Their pass rush is in the lead. I mean, I don't think that Walter Nolan's in. Yeah. I think you could start. I think you could start CJ Stroud in this spot here at home against a lousy Cardinals team.
Well, he's played against bad teams before this year and just hasn't performed. So, you know, I need to see something from him consistently, and he hasn't done that for the past 2 years. He hasn't done it this year or last year, and I feel like he's just not a guy you want to start because he's not even getting the passing volume either. I mean, if they go up big on the Cardinals, which I do think this is going to be a close game, I think they're going to rely on Woody Marks a lot more than people expect. Nick Chubb's out, but whoever else they have at running back here, stay away from him. I think Woody Marks is the clear 1 RB for this system. Jaden Higgins has been really underwhelming. I told you guys he wasn't a very good receiver, and he hasn't been this year for the most part. He's been good with his targets, but just doesn't really get open. He doesn't separate all that well. And then the running backs for the Cardinals, I think they're going to be in a clear pass-first situation here. Bam Knight hasn't really been the greatest outside of a touchdown here or there. If Trey Benson does play this game, I mean, he's been hurt, and he's been out for a while, so I'm going to stay away from him until I see how he looks on the football field. So we'll keep on rocking and rolling. Thank you for all the viewers, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. If you guys want to leave a comment, ask some start-sit questions, any advice for fantasy football, if you want to have our takes for some of the betting props, go ahead and jump in the chat. We'll answer any questions that you may have. Now, on to this next game. This is another really big game. You know, it's almost up there with the Bills and the Patriots. But the Green Bay Packers, they're going on the road to Mile High Stadium playing the Broncos, who these two teams have been kind of on a roll this year. Despite how good the Broncos defense is, the Packers are minus 2.5-point favorites. I don't know what to think about this line. I think I stay away from this line completely because Bo Nix could go out there and shit himself completely. He does that from time to time, especially versus good defenses like the Packers. But the Packers offensively have been decent. Josh Jacobs looks like he's going to be playing. Defensively are pretty healthy. Y'all just don't really have the best secondary. I don't know, man. I'm going to stay away from this line. If I had to lean somewhere, I guess it would be the Broncos, but I don't feel good about either side here.
I think that this is the Super Bowl matchup. I'm calling my shot. I think these two teams play in the Super Bowl later this year, but I'm going to take the Packers in the first matchup because there's a Micah Parsons factor going on here. Josh Jacobs is a little banged up, but Emmanuel Wilson has shown that he can run the football when given the opportunities. I think if they just steer away from Nick Benito, I trust the Packers' offensive line against the Broncos' front. Pat Surtain, obviously, is an amazing corner. I think with Jaden Reed's going to be a little bit of a difference maker in this one, too. He made his return last week. And Christian Watson's coming along. The Packers are starting to get rolling right when the time's right. They keep winning these close games. And I trust Matt LaFleur a little more than Sean Payton with this roster. It's just a roster matchup, and there isn't anybody in the I don't trust the Broncos running game against the Packers front seven. I mean, Devontae Wyatt is going to be missed, clearly, but I think that you're going to see enough with Gary and either Brinson or Stackhouse, whoever they rotate up front, along with Micah Parsons. Quay Walker's going to play. Everybody's kind of healthy on the Packers, not named Tucker Kraft or Devontae Wyatt. Those are your only season-long injuries. But Luke Musgrave shown last week that you can throw him the football, and he's going to make some plays. He reminded us that he was a second-round pick, and I think you just sometimes need to get reps. Give me the Packers. I'll lay 2.5. Packers win by a field goal. McManus drives the dagger against his old team and kicks another field goal in my high. He's familiar with that place. He used to kick for the Denver Broncos. So give me Green Bay to cover.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and look-see here. That's a really close line. Absolutely. But for the start sits, I do think Bo Nix he has enough rushing upside, and he's proven to be a decent starting quarterback for fantasy purposes. So I'm going to stick with Bo Nix here. RJ Harvey is going to be getting all the touches. So regardless of whether he's efficient with the touches or not, he's going to be getting a lot of touches. So you got to stick with guys like that. And Cortland Sutton has been a very consistent asset over the whole part of the season. So I like Cortland Sutton, as a start as well for the flex spot. Jordan Love, I think Jordan Love proved last week that, the Bears are a pretty stout defense, and Jordan Love still went out there and gave you a pretty solid fantasy performance. And he's done that for the past 3-4 weeks. He had a little hiccup there to the early to mid part of the season, just kind of putting in a couple sinkers here and there. But Jordan Love, he's been really on it the past few weeks, so I like him as a start as well, even though the Broncos defense is very, very tough. And then Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs, they've kept him limited in practice because he is getting a ton of touches, and he's going to continue to get a ton of touches. He's beat up. I do think his workload's a little bit less, but I still think he's a 20-touch guy this week, so I'm going to stick with Josh Jacobs. He's a touchdown upside every single week, and he's getting the touches. For the sits, Pat Bryant, he's so close, man. He's so close to being a borderline starter. I loved him coming out of Illinois. Love his skill set. I think he's the long-term replacement for Cortland Sutton. But as of right now, he's the wide receiver 2 on this team. And I think with Cortland Sutton being there, it's just not enough volume. And then Marvin Mims, I had high hopes for him because last year, towards the end of the season, he was really just tearing it up. He just hasn't really gotten the looks, though, unfortunately. Then for the Packers, we say it every week about the Packers. We don't know who the hell is going to be getting the ball. I think Christian Watson right now is the most consistent option for fantasy. So I think Christian Watson's a borderline starter. But Romeo Doubs, since Christian Watson's came back, he hasn't made a big impact. Dontavian Wicks, he had a big game a couple of weeks ago, but outside of that, hasn't really done much. And then Luke Musgrave, I know we talked about it last week. Luke Musgrave, the Packers utilize their tight end a ton with Kraft. Musgrave gets in there, and he's just kind of an afterthought, unfortunately. So staying away from Luke Musgrave as well, even though he is the starting and pretty much only tight end for the Packers right now from a receiving standpoint.
I would just disagree. Watson's been scoring touchdowns and getting tons of yards past few weeks. I think he's a must-start over Cortland Sutton. Just my take. Like, he's getting touchdowns since he's returned. They're throwing him the football. He seems to be wide receiver 1 right now. Yep. I'm with you on Dobbs losing his touches and stuff like that, but Watson's clearly the more explosive athlete. Yep. I think that Christian Watson can get you league winner status for these playoffs. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 49 viewers. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. The afternoon slate in our last minute start sit-ins.
It looks like your mic cut out.
Go.
Oh, there you go. You're back. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
But we're just heading on to the next game. We're just in our afternoon slate of games. Thank you so much for tuning in. So just keep on bouncing.
Well, I want to say one more thing about Christian Watson. So the reason I'm a little opposed to Christian Watson is not because he hasn't been performing his ass off, because he's absolutely been cooking. I loved him at North Dakota State as well, but he's always been a guy that will perform big time for you over the course of 3-4 weeks. And then he just disappears, man, whether it's due to injury. I hope to God he stays healthy for a long period of time because he's such a fun player to watch. He's so big, so fast. Props to Christian Watson because guys like him, kind of like Julio Jones, right, where they rely on explosiveness a lot, and then once the injuries hit them, they're just zapped. Christian Watson tore his ACL last year. And he's coming out there and he's looking just as explosive as ever. It's a testament to how he recovered and how much determination he has for playing football. So, like Christian Watson a ton, hopefully he continues to be relevant in fantasy. But here's another game. I know the current betting favorites for the Super Bowl are the Los Angeles Rams. They're playing at SoFi Stadium today, the Lions are going on the road to SoFi Stadium playing the Los Angeles Rams. The Lions are in a weird spot right now where they've lost a couple of weird games here and there over the past 4 or 5 weeks. The Rams, despite that, are 5.5-point favorites. I do like the Rams here, but I also like the Lions too, man. I like both of these teams a ton. I don't know, man. I think the Lions might win this game. I'm going to go plus 5.5 here. I love what the Rams have done offensively. Defensively, they're pretty decent as well. But I don't know, man. I think I like the Lions here. I think the Rams are going to rest on their laurels a little bit here at home.
I don't think they're going to rest on their laurels. Packer and Bears fans would love a Lions win because it knocks the Rams out of that 1 seed.
Yeah.
And the Bears have the tiebreakers, all the tiebreakers over the Rams, for whatever reason that may be. I'm going to take the Lions in the points here. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has himself a day. But, man, the Lions secondary is missing some key players. They don't have Kirby Joseph. I think his season is over. We still don't have Terry and Arnold's going to be missing. They've just been getting torn up. That's what happens when you play indoors, man. You got to play this game outdoors. It's just that simple. I know nobody wants to hear it, but you got to play this game on grass, where it's soft, where your feet can plant, where you can move and not rip every shred, every muscle in your knee. I mean, it's just what's been going on with the Detroit Lions team the past few seasons. But nonetheless, I think that they go over there. I mean, Matt Stafford seeing his old crew again, Jared Goff going to LA. It's the old story. They're tired of hearing about it. I just think that this game's close. I don't know who wins. Lions really need to win this game. I'm going to take the more desperate team here, so give me the Lions plus 5.5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one. But we'll go ahead and get into the start sits here. Jared Goff, man. It's time to talk about Jared Goff like he's a top 8 quarterback in the NFL. He's just a guy that does not give you shit in terms of rushing upside. But Jared Goff, man, he gets you 300 passing yards, 250, 300 passing yards, 2-3 touchdowns. Very, very safe when it comes to interceptions as well. So I love Jared Goff here as a start. Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, man, what a stud season he's had. Right now, he's the RB3, I believe, right now, RB2 or 3. I think he's still behind McCaffrey and he's still behind Jonathan Taylor. But I love what Jahmyr Gibbs has done, at least from a touches standpoint. He's had a ton of touches. And he's been really explosive. It's just as explosive as ever. So I like him as well. Amon equals Raw St. Brown. Little typo there. Love that. But Amon-Ra, I definitely think, is just getting the targets every single week. They had a really down week last week with Amon-Ra offensively, and he still had like 13, 14 points. He's one of the safest wide receivers. As long as he doesn't get hurt in the first quarter like he did a couple of weeks ago and lost me my matchup. But that's okay. He doesn't get hurt very often. So, like Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, those are the basic starters, of course. And then for the Rams, man, Matthew Stafford cooking. MVP front runner, in my opinion, right now at 37 years old. What a story that is. He doesn't offer you much rushing upside, but, man, he's getting you the touchdowns pretty much every single week, which is interesting. This offense has just been scoring touchdowns like hotcakes, man. Then Puka Nacua. I know Devontae Adams isn't on here. I'll talk about that in just a second. But Puka Nacua just gets the targets and he's a much safer fantasy weapon for you guys, especially in the playoffs, fantasy football playoffs. Devontae is a little different because he does lead the NFL in touchdowns. They do pretty much have an automatic touchdown with him in certain scenarios on the goal line. But it's just different, man, because he doesn't get the targets that Puka does. Puka can go out there and give you a 15, 16-point game and not score a touchdown. I think Devontae kind of needs that touchdown in order to be relevant. And so that's why I stay away from Devontae just a little bit. There's guys that I'd start over him, but obviously he's going to be projected probably 10, 11, 12 points, and I think that's safe enough for you to start him in your flex spot. Then for the sits, told you guys David Montgomery was not a valid starter this year. Outside of that one big game he had earlier on in the season, he just hasn't really done much. And there's certain situations, certain drives where they'll use him pretty much exclusively. But with how good Jahmyr Gibbs has been playing, he's basically the RB1 and David Montgomery's the RB2. They have not been splitting as much as people were hoping. The David Montgomery owners were hoping for. Isaac Tisla, I like what he's put on tape this year, but he's just not getting a lot of snap percentages. And I mean, he's got, I think, 7 catches on the year, and 4 of them are touchdowns. So,
Yeah.
kind of fun stuff from him. I think he's a guy that's going to develop into somebody pretty nice. I don't know what his full ceiling looks like because, J-Mo is there long-term, Amon-Ra's there long-term, Laporta's probably there long-term. So, Tesla, I don't know. We'll see where he fits in long-term. Jordan Whittington, stay away from him because of Puka and Devontae being there. He's the wide receiver 3 at best, so stay away from him. And then Blake Corum, I do want to talk about him because the past 2 weeks, he's really been cooking. It feels like Kyron, it's been blowout games, so Blake Corum would come in, and he's been really good with his touches. But Kyron's still the guy there, at least for now. So stay away from Blake Corum. I know it looks attractive because he's had back-to-back really good weeks, but I'm staying away from him. I need a little bit more consistency. If he has another big game, maybe you feel good about starting him in the second round of your college football playoff, or not college football playoff, fantasy football playoff.
It's okay. That's why we're here.
A lot of talking, man. A lot of talking. But Rams tight end as well. Stay away from the Rams tight end. Whether it's Colby Parkinson, whether it's the guy they drafted out of Oregon, Terrence Ferguson. They just haven't really – Tyler Higbee. None of those guys are guys that you want to start right now. They're just not thrown to the tight end all that much.
Interesting stuff. Cruising right along to these afternoon games. We're trying to wrap up this show before kickoff here. And this, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to lead off. This is my play of the day. I love the Panthers -2.5 here. I think they got a little jolt with Tampa Bay. Losing the game on Thursday, I think that they take charge here, even if it is a road game. We're going to see Bryce Young return to New Orleans, and all those Alabama fans who are Saints fans generally are going to get to see their boy coming to town and take on Tyler Shuck. I think this is a game where Ted McMillan absolutely starts smoking these boys. I think this is a blowout here. I think this might be a 10-point game. I've always kind of trended towards the Saints, but I don't think that the Saints are as good to be within 3 points of the Carolina Panthers. What says you?
Yeah, when I saw this line, I was pretty shocked, honestly. I know the Saints, they had a really solid win last week. Shuck still didn't look great as a passer. I don't know why people were he had multiple rushing touchdowns, but it's like he made a couple of good throws. Maybe more than a couple, but he still had the bad interception. I think he's got 5 touchdowns, 4 picks, something like that. Backup numbers, in my opinion. I know he's a rookie, but
I'm going to stop you, ladies and gentlemen. We have reached 50 viewers. I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. That's why I clicked the little breaking news icon. Thank you so much for joining Cover 2 Cash. We are going through the last of our starts and sits, but I just wanted to acknowledge 50 people joining us. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And again, if you guys want to hop in the chat, any start-sit questions, anything like that, I know we had a couple people come in and ask some start-sit questions. If you got some last-minute sets for your lineups for college football playoff, again, jeez Louise, fantasy football playoffs.
College spike your coffee this morning, Bobby? No. You got some eggnog going on this morning?
No, I wish, man. The college football playoff is coming up, so I am excited about that. Maybe that's
Let's get to our fantasy playoffs.
But, I don't know why the line is what it is. I completely agree with you. I think the Panthers are going to win by at least a touchdown here, so I think this is one of the safer plays of the weekend. So we'll go ahead and go into our start-sits for this game. Bryce Young must start, I think, versus the Saints. The Saints defense hasn't been very great this year. I think Bryce Young can have another pretty solid performance. He's clocked in a couple of really good performances this year. 400-yard game at one point this year. Multiple 3-touchdown, no-pick games. So, like Bryce Young here, I think he's really starting to come into his own, and I think he can develop and put a cap on this solid season for the Panthers. I know they're really trying hard to get into the playoffs in this division. So, like Bryce Young, like Ted McMillan as well. He's, I think, the wide receiver 6 right now as a rookie, which is very impressive for Ted McMillan. I liked him a lot. He was my wide receiver 1 tied with Travis Hunter. Ted McMillan, big bodied, really solid hands, solid yak ability as well. Like Ted McMillan because he's getting the targets. Touches. For the Saints, Tyler Shuck. He gave me enough as a rusher last week, made enough solid throws for me to start him versus this Carolina defense. Carolina's defense hasn't been the best this year, so I like Shuck. to kind of get you 18 to 20 points this week. So if you need that out of a quarterback, I think Shuck can get you that. Devin Neal, if you are thin at your running back spot, Devin Neal, I think, is going to get at least 17, 18 touches this game.
Yeah,
Kamara's at the minimum. Kamara is out. And I think Neal can really get you a decent 12 to 15 point performance. And if he gets a touchdown, maybe even more than that. Devin Neal, really good out of the backfield, can catch the ball out of the backfield. Kind of reminded me, I know this sounds crazy, guys, but Devin Neal at Kansas reminded me a lot of Le'Veon Bell. That was my kind of pro comp for him. Looked so similar to Le'Veon Bell at Michigan State. So I like him. I hope that he continues to get touches because I think he's a very talented back. I thought he fell way too far in the draft. I thought he was a third-round guy. He fell all the way to the sixth round, I believe.
Yeah.
So Chris Olave is the last guy that we need to talk about. I think he leads the NFL in targets right now, which is insane because he's had multiple quarterbacks this year. You know, Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck, obviously not the best names in the NFL at the quarterback spot, but Olave is cashing in a really solid season. I was fading him at the beginning of the year, but yet still he's been very solid. Really good stuff. He hasn't gotten hurt very much this year, so I like Chris Olave as a start. I think he's one of the safer wide receivers in the NFL to start. Then for the sits, Kamara, obviously he's out. That says for any other running back, I know Kendre Miller's been out for the rest of the season. Kamara's probably out for at least another week or two. If they even play him at all the rest of the season, they might just preserve him for next year. So any running back not named Devin Neal is basically in that Alvin Kamara spot. Devon Vele, he had a big week 2 weeks ago. Then he kind of fell off a little bit. I think with Jawan Johnson, who's not on here, but I think he's a solid start. Chris Olave and Devin Neal in the backfield. I think Devon Vele is probably a depth option here as like a big power slot. So staying away from Devon Vele for now. He needs to be a little bit more consistent for me. And then Chuba Hubbard, he had a big game last week. Rico Dowdle, it's a little strange because I think with how well Chuba's played over the past couple of weeks, and Rico Dowdle has slowed down efficiency-wise, I think this goes into a split backfield, unfortunately. Because it was the Rico Dowdle show for 5-6 weeks throughout the season. He was putting up some big numbers. He's already over 1,000 yards, I believe. They're just going to be more of a split backfield, I think, and preserve both of these guys into the playoffs. So staying away from Carolina's backfield. And then JT Sanders, man, I had so much hope for JT Sanders. I love his athletic profile, but he just hasn't been getting on the field, man. They kind of have a three-headed monster at tight end with Tommy Tremble, JT Sanders, and the other guy that they drafted out of Notre Dame, I think. Those three guys, they've just been a three-headed monster. So staying away from any tight end, really, for the Carolina Panthers.
So I'm in full agreement there. I think Bryce Young has a big day today.
I think he's going to have a big day today.
He threw for 450 against Atlanta. 450, 448 or something like that, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah, big game for sure. I mean, he's made some – it's weird because he can go out there and have a big game, and then the next week just the offense just can't do anything. Like that 49ers game. We'll talk about the 49ers in just a second, but that Panthers-49ers game a couple of weeks ago was just horrific on both sides of the ball for both teams, really. It was a really clunky matchup. But and speaking of the 49ers, the Titans, who might be, and no hate on Titans because, you know, they are one of the closer teams to me in the country right now. I do like the Titans, but, man, this might be the worst roster/football team I've seen in the past 8 to 10 years. I mean, they are really, really bad. Offensively horrible. Defensively not very great. I mean, their defense is okay, I guess, but their offense has just been really piss poor all year. They're going on the road all the way across the country to play the San Francisco 49ers, who, despite all the injuries that they've had, they still have 9 wins right now. So they're minus 12.5 point favorites. Brock Purdy's back. Looks like he's going to be fully healthy, at least at this point. I mean, I'm going to say San Francisco plus 12, minus 12.5 here. Christian McCaffrey is looking like he's going to play today. So, yeah, I just don't have any faith in the Titans. I know that they had a decent win versus the Browns last week, and Cam Ward had his first solid game, but I think the 49ers are really going to steamroll over this team, especially at home. So it's tough. I'm going to go San Francisco minus 12.5, though.
I think that's the right play. I mean, the 49ers can't It's really just an easy spot for them. I mean, the Titans
Yeah.
have to travel all the way to the West Coast here. Christian McCaffrey, I mean, what more can you say? The 49ers did put Ayuk out for the season. They put him on some kind of injury list, designation list, and that's probably
Yeah.
going to sever ties. We're going to see Ayuk definitely be a coveted trade receiver because I do think that he's going to be fully healed. And there's teams that are in markets for wide receivers all the time. I mean, maybe the Saints go after him. Put him alongside with Olave, and then you get yourself a nice little 1-2 punch for Tyler Shuck down there. Or you just don't know. Maybe they'll cut him. You just don't know what's going on in San Francisco. There's something goofy about the 49ers and their receivers. But nonetheless, the Titans have been playing a little bit better. Cam Ward was stiff-arming people last week. I really think he's going to be a good player. I just don't think that they can keep it close here. 12.5 is a lot for a team that's been kind of iffy on defense. I'll take the 49ers to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people knew the 49ers were not going to – I mean, they knew the 49ers were – I mean, they knew Cam Ward wasn't going to be successful in his rookie year. He just had nothing to work with. Nothing. Calvin Ridley was his guy. He lasted like 5 weeks and then is out for the rest of the year. And outside of that, I mean, nothing. Ellick is fine, but we're going to get into our starts. Since you see, we don't have any Titans players on the left side of the graphic. Brock Purdy, I think, will have a solid game here. Christian McCaffrey's going to have himself a 25 touch game like he has been. He's on pace for 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards. I think he only needs 50 receiving, 50 rushing a game for the rest of the season to get that. So I think that's really doable for him. George Kittle will have probably a big day. Ricky Pearsall will have a pretty solid day. Pretty much everybody on this offense, I think. They're going to be on the field a lot. I think any 49ers player that has at least some sort of role in this offense can be startable this week. And then for the sits, every single Titans player. I think Cam Ward's the only one that I would be okay to start right now at quarterback if you're really thin at your QB2 spot if you're in a super flex league. But outside of that, I mean, I know Tony Pollard had a big week last week, but he just doesn't. I think this is going to be a game where the Titans are playing from behind a lot, and I don't think Tony Pollard's going to be utilized a ton. So staying away from Ellick, I'm staying away from everybody. Chigakonkwo, every single person. So like the 49ers here, pretty big here. So
yeah, it's a pretty easy one.
But here's another one where, if certain things didn't happen last week, this line would look a lot closer. We're going to talk about it, though. The Indianapolis Colts, they are starting 44-year-old Phillip Rivers.
Let's go.
They have not played. He has not taken a snap. The last time he did take a snap, though, was with the Indianapolis Colts in 2021.
Well, a couple things here. He played for Shane Steichen, was a coach of his when they were in the Chargers, so he's familiar with the offense.
Absolutely.
Secondly, there's a conspiracy theory going around about Phillip Rivers. The only reason that he's coming back is he's been out of the league for almost 5 seasons, and there's something with insurance that expires after 5 years in the NFL. So he's like, I'll put my Hall of Fame career on hold for another 5 years just to keep all those kids he got, folks, because he is a fertile myrtle, and he has a lot of children.
He has 10 kids.
I mean, good for him, though. They're all with his wife. That's kind of what you want to do. If you're married to the same person, you have 10 kids, who cares what anybody says? And he's got the money to take care of them.
Absolutely.
He's not on welfare. So anybody who's thinking that's weird, just shut up. I don't care. You can turn this channel off. Don't be weird. But I am pulling for the Colts here. I'm pulling for Phillip Rivers to dadgummit. As he likes to say dadgummit, and he don't swear. He's a good old boy from Alabama.
He will shit talk you, though. He is a shit talker. He just does it in a nice way.
And he's coming in at 260 pounds. He's coming in a little heavy, so I kind of appreciate that for the quarterback position. He's not hefty lefty like Jared Lorenzen. But all jokes aside here, I think that they can keep it within 13.5. This is a guy, when you play quarterback for that long, you don't lose your knowledge of the game, and I think that kind of helps. I mean, he's just going to be handing the ball off to Taylor all day and really just doing the quick game. I don't see any long play action developing throws down the field. I don't know what your starts and sits are going to be on this one here, but I'm avoiding Colts receivers today. I think it's going to be heavy Taylor, and I think they can keep the game close. I think that the Colts defense is going to make Sam Darnold have some fits here. You just got to contain JSN, and I think that you've got a shot to win the football game. So I'll take the Colts plus 13 and a hook here.
I am also taking the Colts plus 13 and a hook here. We didn't talk a lot about the Seahawks, but they've had a really solid season. Sam Darnold has been really, really solid this year. Outside of a couple of games, I know he had that 4-pick game, but outside of that, he's been really, really consistent. We are on the same page with the receivers, but there is a receiver that I have on here that I have had on the sit list a lot. So let's go ahead and look at it. But one more thing about Phillip Rivers. When he retired as a Colt, it's not like he was, in the twilight of his career not making plays. He had over 4,000 yards, like 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions or something like that. It was a very respectable season when he retired. So, and he's always been a guy like that. But
you're sitting him.
I am sitting him.
Okay.
I have no idea what he's about to look like because he is 4 years off. He's been a coach. He's overweight. He's not in shape. It's interesting, and I feel like it was just a perfect matchup, right? He knows the offense. There's nobody that you're going to be able to get in that knows the offense like Phillip Rivers does. I don't know, man. I'm staying away from him for now, but we'll talk about Sam Darnold and JSN, who might have the best connection quarterback wide receiver duo in the entire NFL. Sam Darnold with JSN has been, I want to say, the QB 11. I think versus this Colts defense, rather, they're going to be able to really put up some points. I do think the Colts are going to be able to match as many points as the Seahawks put up. So, like Sam Darnold, JSN, obviously the wide receiver 1, has been killing it every single week outside of literally 1 week. He has more games of over 100 yards than he does without games over 100 yards, which is insane to me. He has double, actually, the amount of games of over 100 yards that he does without. He has 8 games over 100 yards, 4 games under, which is insane. But JT, I completely agree with you. It's going to be the handoff game for Phillip Rivers a good portion of the day. Jonathan Taylor's been super talented. If Christian McCaffrey didn't get 40 touches a game, he would be the RB1 right now. So, like Jonathan Taylor as well. Tyler Warren, you said the quick game. This is why Tyler Warren and Josh Downs are both on this list. Tyler Warren is going to be getting the first downs, kind of Travis Kelce-like. So I like Tyler Warren in the quick game, and I like Josh Downs in the quick game because Josh Downs is a guy that gets open pretty much immediately off the line of scrimmage. Very shifty guy. He just hasn't been getting the targets because he's not really the best separator deep. And whenever Shane Steichen likes to run these play calls, it's not him. It's Pittman. It's Alec Pierce, those guys. So I think with the quick game, it's going to be Josh Downs and Tyler Warren this week. So I like Josh Downs as a flex spot. I know his projection's only like 9 points. I think it's going to go up. I think it's going to give us a 15-point day. Then for the sits, Phillip Rivers, I got to see it first, man. I got to see it first. I know. I got to see it. It's a great story. I'm pulling for him, but you cannot start Phillip Rivers unless you have nobody at quarterback right now.
Phillip Rivers going for a scramble.
Yeah. I don't know how he's going to look on these bootlegs. Interesting thing about Anthony Richardson, it's just been bad luck for the Colts. Daniel Jones was the guy playing great football, tears his Achilles. Anthony Richardson pops himself in the eye with a workout band, breaks his orbital, pushes his eye into his face. Then Riley Leonard goes out there, has an okay start, and then hurts his knee. It's like they have to find somebody, and Phillip Rivers was the only guy that really wasn't halfway into broadcasting. He's actually in football a little bit. So
he said that he was coaching his son's high school team and runs the same offense that the Colts are running.
It's just a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit, right? They can still run the same offense. It's just not going to be as much running, I think, with Phillip Rivers. There's no bootlegs, I don't think. But Alec Pierce, I don't think Phillip Rivers' arm is all that. It wasn't when he was playing 4 years ago. I definitely don't think it's going to be that now. So I think Alec Pierce is going to suffer tremendously because of that. Then Michael Pittman, he's, over the middle receiver, intermediate routes. I don't know if he's going to connect with Phillip Rivers as much as people would think. And then for the sits for the Seahawks, split backfield between Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Neither one of them is going to get the touches, I don't think, to be relevant. And that's been the case all year. Right, Charbonnet's been relevant because he gets the touchdowns. Kenneth Walker gets the yards, no touchdowns. So it's just been, you just stay away from both of those guys.
Good stuff.
All right,
good stuff.
Let's continue to rock and roll. The Vikings who had a really good performance last week defensively, shut out the Commanders. I know the Commanders aren't really the team to beat right now, but they're going on the road to Jerry's World playing the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are minus 6-point favorites. They're coming off a big win versus the Chiefs. I like the Cowboys minus 6 here. I don't think J.J. McCarthy, he's not the worst starting quarterback in the league right now, but he's towards the bottom for sure. Brady Cooks definitely has him beat right now. But Cowboys,
I don't know how this game didn't get flexed out of Sunday night. Both these teams are not in playoff position. We could have easily put Bills Patriots down here.
Cowboys should be somewhere in the hunt, right?
Well, nonetheless, I think it's just because the Cowboys are a big brand name. But I'm going to take the Vikings and the points here.
Really?
I think that this is going to be the game where Justin Jefferson has himself a day. There's some serious turmoil going on with the Cowboys and Trayvon Diggs. Right now, they're saying that that the relationship's just completely sour, and it might be a situation to where you just don't know what they're doing defensively as far as that goes. I think the Cowboys' defense is absolutely not what you need to be. I think this could be a game where you see. I'm serious. This is my Justin Jefferson touchdowns, like big. What we've seen from him play, I think this is where he just snaps off. I mean, DeRon Bland's going to be the guy that's on him, I think. But I know that he's got enough talent to overcome DeRon Bland.
Absolutely.
The Vikings, their season's on life support. I don't think they can get in the playoffs. The NFC's too crowded.
I think they're a 4-win team right now, so I don't think there's a shot.
But I like the defense against keeping it a little bit closer against Dak and Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, who's kind of trailed off a little bit quietly. But give me the Vikings to cover 6 on the road.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and look. So, for the starts, Dak Prescott, he leads the NFL in passing yards right now. He's a must start. I think he's one of the safer quarterbacks to start. I know he's had a couple of duds this year, but I like him. CeeDee Lamb, I think 3 straight 100-yard games when he's been healthy. So, like CeeDee Lamb, I think he's the wide receiver 10, and he missed 4 games. That's insanity. I love what he's put on tape this year. George Pickens led the NFL in touchdowns before Devontae Adams was getting 3 touchdowns every single game. Like George Pickens, he was pretty lazy last week and the week before last. I don't know what's going on with that. But like George Pickens still, I think he's a very talented receiver, and he's getting the ball a decent amount as well. Then for the Vikings, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison may be a borderline start, honestly, but for some reason, J.J. McCarthy has targeted him more than Justin Jefferson over his tenure with the Vikings, which is very strange. But I like Justin Jefferson a lot, and I really hope that he starts getting it going because, man, he just – with the new quarterback change, he had J.J. McCarthy, he had Max Brosmer, just really bad quarterback play. Hopefully J.J. can turn it up and figure it out. Then for the sits, J.J., I need to see more consistency from him. I know he had a decent fantasy performance last week, but you watch the film and there's a lot of issues there. Staying away from J.J., staying away from the Vikings run game as well. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, they have both been kind of underwhelming this year, and they're splitting carries. I'm staying away from them. Ryan Flournoy, he was a rookie last year. He's a special teams guy. No, he had a big week last week because CD was out with the concussion. Miracle, by the way. That was a bad concussion from CD. Had over 100 yards in the first half, then just gets concussed and just, unfortunately, wasn't able to return. Thankfully, he's playing again. Let's hopefully that doesn't happen again because I have him in a lot of leagues and I have a bye this week. So I don't need him to die this week. I need him to stay upright. Yeah,
don't die.
So
pass away.
Ryan Flournoy is not going to be getting the touches that you guys think he will. He's a special teams guy. And then any other Cowboys receiver, whether that's Turpin, Tolbert, any of those guys, stay away from him. I think Jake Ferguson is a borderline start at your tight end. I know he had a really hot start, and then he's cooled down because the touchdowns aren't coming in. So, that's the start assist for this game. Last game of today. Now we get to go into the Monday night matchup.
Final one.
The Dolphins and the Steelers, which weirdly enough, I didn't really think either one of these teams would be in playoff contention by week 15, especially not the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins need a lot of help to get in, but the Steelers, they're the leader of the division, right? They're winning the division right now, which is insane. Mike Tomlin's going to win again with an 8-7 season, or 8-9 season. I mean, I just don't understand. 9-8, 8-9. He's going to win the division again. He can't keep getting away with this. Nonetheless, I do think the Steelers are a better team than the Dolphins. Uh,
Uh,
Tua has been really underwhelming for a while now this year. I like Waddle a lot, but I like the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, who's been quietly having a decent season. I like Pittsburgh -3 here at home.
I like the Dolphins. There's no TJ Watt on the field after having his lung punctured
Yeah,
or whatever the
that
hell's
was
going
weird.
on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the Dolphins. I'm going to take them in the cold weather. I'm going to take Tua and Achan and Waddle and the crew. They've been, ever since they fired Chris Greer, like I'm telling you, they haven't lost. There's a meme going around about Tua saying he'd like to play. They asked him where he'd like to play in an NFL international game, and he said Jerusalem, and he hasn't lost a game since. Like, it's God and blessing Miami football, which they desperately need. But I do think that, with Greer out of there, I think there might have been just some kind of quiet pressure on Mike McDaniel, and I feel like it's gone, and everybody's just saying, screw it, we're going to go out and play football.
Yep.
And what happens. We're playing with house money. I think he's still coaching for his job. I mean, there's only a few weeks left in the season, and they're still in the playoff hunt, so it's not a completely dead situation.
Yeah.
I thought for a time he did lose the locker room. It doesn't feel that way. But I think on Pittsburgh's side of the ball, there's just something that doesn't feel right, man. It just feels like this team is super mid.
Yeah,
but
they definitely are that.
And just, man, but without TJ Watt out there, it really opens up Miami's options to.
Yep.
You can see a lot of play action here with two rollouts to the left side and really frustrate them. I'm just going to run anywhere I can. There's nobody in the interior that's really fierce that Miami can't handle. I'll take the Dolphins to win the game. I'm going to take the money line here.
Interesting. Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the start sits. I think Miami, there's only two people you can really start reliably. Devon Achane, who I was completely wrong about. I thought Devon Achane was not going to finish as an RB1 because I didn't think that he'd stay healthy all year, and he just was kind of underwhelming on the inside zone runs. They've kept it to the outside with Achane. He's still getting all the dump-offs. Yeah, Achane has been great this year. Really been doing well with his bulk of the carries. And he's been holding up and staying healthy. So I like Achane a lot as a start. He's the RB, I think, 5 right now, RB6. And then Waddle, since Tua's been down, Waddle has been a very consistent option for fantasy. So I'm starting him as well. And then for the Steelers, I like Aaron Rodgers. I've had Aaron Rodgers on the sit side a lot, but I don't like the Dolphins' defense that much. I think Aaron Rodgers can have himself a 3-touchdown game. Jaylen Warren is getting all the touches at the running back spot, so I like Jaylen Warren here. Not big fan of his in terms of skill set, but he's getting the touches, so you can't ignore that. Same thing with DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf's kind of cooled down a little bit since the start of the season, but I think DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers can have a touchdown, maybe 1 to 2 touchdown day for DK Metcalf. Then for the sits, Tua, you can't reliably start him anymore. Even when they win, he's got like 100 yards, a touchdown, a pick. It's just, I don't know what it is. He had a great season towards the end of last year, and then he's starting to say these random cartoon things, and I don't know what's going on with him, man. He's scrambled. He's scrambled for sure. I don't know.
Hold breath when he's got the football in his hand and takes a sack, man, or when he takes off.
That's exactly. Stay in the pocket, please. So I don't like Tua Tagovailoa as a start. I don't like Malik Washington. He's been getting targets, but he just hasn't done anything with them. Darren Waller as well. I know people were excited about him, and he had a solid first start of the year and then just got hurt and hasn't done nothing since. Calvin Austin, he's a boomer bust guy at this point, and more bust this year than he was last year. And then Roman Wilson, I don't even know if he has a role on this team anymore. There's a couple of weeks where he had a decent snap percentage, but it's just gone downhill from then. So staying away from pretty much any receiver not named DK Metcalf for the Steelers. Do think Aaron Rodgers is going to spread it around a decent amount, though, to random people. And that is everything, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the holiday season. Make sure you guys have fun. We have had 47 viewers. We peaked at 53 at one point that I saw. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Follow me on X at Justin Paul Sport. Make sure that you follow Bobby on his YouTube channel at Bobby's Big Board. He does all your Dynasty breakdowns. His off-season film sessions are unbelievable. Just tune in if you're in the fantasy playoffs. I know that you're watching us, and we just want to, again, thank you so much. We got about 15 minutes from kickoff. Bobby, you got anything that you want to promote?
Man, nah, everybody that's watching, thank you guys so much for watching. Let's enjoy another great weekend of football. And yeah, man, it's gonna be fun, and I'm excited to see who ends up taking these, see how right we were.
All right, folks. With that being said, we will tune in. We may do start doing these shows on Sundays instead of Friday nights. I mean, we had a pretty good turnout right before kickoff because our stuff is way better than what they put on NFL Network and Fox. They only give you like last second, oh, this person's in, they're out, and we've done the analysis on every single game, including the Monday night game ahead of your matchups. So good luck with your fantasy football matchups this week. Good luck with your picks where it's legal. Got to stress that. Make sure that you're doing legal stuff. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, skull and have yourselves a wonderful NFL Sunday. We will see you on Cover 2 Cash next time. Thank you so much.